Prime Minister Mark Carney is in Malaysia attending a key summit where he hopes to drum up business for Canada. And while Carney says he will meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping this week, U.S. President Donald Trump says he won't meet with Carney for a long time and is now hitting Canada with more tariffs.
So let's talk more about it. CTV's Colton Praill is tracking everything this morning live from Ottawa. So Colton, what is the Prime Minister saying about Donald Trump's threat to raise these tariffs another 10%, all kind of in retaliation for the ad?
Yeah, a couple of different things that Mark Carney brought up in his press conference this morning. The first thing is he highlighted the fact that we still don't know when these tariffs are coming and where they're coming. There's been no details from the U.S. president. He just said 10% over and above what Canadians are already paying. Does that include the CUSMA exemption? Does that include sectoral 232 tariffs? We don't know at this point. And the president doesn't seem to be making it any clearer. He was asked when these tariffs would be enacted, and he just said that he would let people know when he was speaking on Air Force One. But you were right. He also brought up that he's quite upset with Mark Carney, that he doesn't wish to meet with Mark Carney, and that the situation has really deteriorated between them as a result of this ad. On that front in particular, the position of the Canadian government was repeated throughout about a 30-minute press conference where he repeatedly said there was good progress made in these negotiations. They stand by that progress, and they are ready to continue those negotiations or restart those negotiations whenever the U.S. wants to come back to the table. But until that point, the focus of the Canadian government is going to continue to be around the federal budget. It's going to continue to be around the things that Mark Carney says he has control over, which is building up in Canada. What we didn't see him say, for example, though, was a critique of Doug Ford, of the Ontario government, or the BC government, who's planning their own ad in the United States as a result of those actions. He was very matter of fact, saying it doesn't pay to be upset over what has occurred, but rather to move forward from where things stand right now. So those were the comments from the Prime Minister. The one other interesting element to all of this morning is the framing that we're seeing from the United States. Donald Trump was speaking about this. He's upset about Ronald Reagan, but also upset about what this could mean for an upcoming Supreme Court case. Have a listen.
Ronald Reagan loved tariffs. He used them sparingly, which he probably would make a mistake. He made a mistake in that. And again, I was the biggest fan of Ronald Reagan, but on finance, on trade, it wasn't his strong suit, but he liked tariffs. And they totally changed that to say that he didn't, because they're catering to the Supreme Court, because Canada's been ripping us off for a long time.
Two things there. One, Ronald Reagan was very much a free trade advocate. There is ample evidence of that, literally hundreds of speeches for that. But the other one, this is the second time we've seen Donald Trump refer to Canada trying to influence the Supreme Court. Next month, the Supreme Court is looking at an appeal that considers whether or not the president was able to implement his IEEPA tariffs. Those are the fentanyl-based tariffs in Canada, the 35% baseline tariff. But for the rest of the world, that's his retaliation day tariffs. Those are his global baseline tariffs, not the 232 sector tariffs. And so there is a real concern in the White House around what could happen with this Supreme Court case. It would be incredibly damaging for him economically. It would be incredibly damaging for him politically, domestically. Certainly, this has been a cornerstone policy for him. And so Donald Trump is looking at this through that lens. But it's important to point out that for the Canadian government, for Ontario especially, removing those IEEPA tariffs doesn't do very much. The sectoral tariffs, the 232 tariffs, are not what are being considered by the courts, but they are what's damaging Canada the most. And so there is, at the core of this, as much as there is a very obvious dispute about Ronald Reagan's view on tariffs, there is also a very obvious misunderstanding of what it is that Canada is focused on from the American perspective.
Mm-hmm. Okay, a lot of things to follow. CTV's Colton Praill joining us live. Thank you.
Anytime.